Hi guys, welcome to Kaladin Stormblessed Part 3. This will be the character study for Kaladin from Oathbringer, the third book in Brandon Sanderson's Stormlight Archive. If you have not read it, you will want to do so before watching this because we're going to be full of spoilers. At this point in the Stormlight Archive, we have gotten to know Kaladin really well. We have seen him go through so much and overcome so much. We are really rooting for him. And we've heard about his home in Hearthstone through his backstory, but we've never actually seen it in present tense. And his portion of Oathbringer starts with him on his way home to Hearthstone. But he's not really looking forward to a happy homecoming. He's been avoiding going home. He's not sure he wants to. He's kind of afraid because this is the first time he's been home since he left years ago, and he is afraid to face his parents because he feels like he is the one who failed to save and protect his brother Tien. How can he look at his parents knowing that he's returning home and his brother is not? Of course, this is taking way too much responsibility onto himself. It is not his fault. Kaladin, we know, likes to take way too much responsibility for the lives of every single person around him, but his brother was one of the closest to him. So this feels like his biggest failure. And now he's going home to face the other people who also loved Tien the most. And I think he underestimates his parents. His parents are still his parents. They love him. They're happy to see him. And when he gets there and sees his mom, he kind of turns into young Kaladin again and just needs her to comfort him. And there's a new little brother. He gets to hold this new baby, and this just makes him cry. Obviously, there's no replacing a lost sibling, but now he can know that his parents' life isn't completely empty without him and Tien there with them. There's other things that are painful about coming home. He's not the same person he was anymore. The girl he loved is married to the person he hates, who he gets to punch. And you think it should feel really satisfying, but it kind of doesn't. It's like, oh, well, okay. Punched him. It's over. Should have felt better, guess it doesn't. But he's been a slave. Now he's supposed to be this hero, this knight, radiant. But it can feel awkward being the famous hero coming back to your hometown where everybody knew you when you were a kid. He doesn't stay there very long. He does what he needs to do. He finds out what he needs to know. He warns them about what's coming next, and then he moves on to the next city. And this journey across the land, trying to warn people and save people from what's coming, he comes into contact with some freed parshmen, and he's confronted with the fact that they're just kind of like normal people. They're not these horrible demonic figures that are out to kill and maim. They're free now, and they're trying to make their way to a new place and make a new life for themselves. And Kaladin is kind of confronted with how racist he actually was. He's never had to be directly confronted with how he views parshmen before. He so badly wants to help them and show them how to survive, and he so badly wants to show compassion to them. He wants to show them that he understands. He can say, I was a slave too. He expects this to give some understanding between them. He doesn't expect saying, you know, I understand, I was a slave too, to cause problems, but this makes me think of what a conversation might go like between a white person telling a person of color, hey, I understand what you're going through. I've had a similar experience in my life. And the person of color being like, oh, your one small experience in your life has made you understand everything about my entire life and what my people have experienced for generations. Tell me more how much you understand. And this kind of shocks Kaladin. He wasn't prepared for this. He's never had to be faced and told, you're actually racist, you just didn't know it. But instead of white privilege, he has Alethi privilege. And he's discovering that the parshmen view him, a dark eyes, who was a slave for a time, the way that he kind of views the light eyes, the people above him holding him down. And that's a new experience for him, but I think very healthy and very good for him. And I think maybe more people in real life need to be confronted with things that they've never had to think about before. But he journeys with these parshmen, and they have some painful and awkward conversations, but he does end up considering them to be his friends. And he would protect them if he could and if the situation came up. Speaking of considering the parshmen friends, we see Kaladin forming more friendships and relationships with people outside of Bridge 4. Up till now, most of his friendships and relationships have been from his old bridge crew. And in Oathbringer, he's not around them as much. He's involved and he's helping get them going on their Windrunner life. But Kaladin personally is starting to branch out. He's making friends with Shallan and Adolin and the Wall Guard from Kholinar. And for someone like Kaladin, forming new relationships and letting people in to be close to him and be his friend is not easy. It's hard work. Kaladin's not afraid of hard work, and we do see him trying. The point where I really was like, hey, he's trying to be a friend here, was when he and Shallan try to sneak into the palace and Shallan gets stabbed and Kaladin makes this horrible stabbing pun. He knows she loves wordplay, and so she's trying to do the thing that he thinks will make her laugh and lighten the mood for her. We also see him trying to do his best for his men of Bridge 4. They're in such a new situation now. Everything is new and confusing, but he works hard to make sure that the best thing for his men is done for them, and that they're all in good shape before he takes off to Kholinar to try to rescue the queen. And in this place and this situation, Kaladin is confronted with more pain and more failure. I kind of feel like failure is the theme of his character arc in Oathbringer, because he's confronted with it over and over and over again. When they get to Kholinar and they finally make it into the palace and all this fighting is happening and all of his friends are killing each other. His new Parshman friends, the Wall Guards, men from Bridge 4, and he just freezes. He doesn't know what to do. In this situation, he doesn't know what's right or wrong or who to protect or save. If he could, he would protect them all. He can't, and that is so hard for him. And as he's watching all this go down, and he's already struggling with this, he watches his old best friend come in and murder his king. What a failure Kaladin is, right? Obviously, Kaladin himself should have been able to stop all this. Might sound ridiculous, but this is the kind of thing he tells himself. This is the kind of pressure he puts on himself. And after that incident, they escape into Shadesmar, and as they transition from the physical world into Shadesmar, Kaladin is in shock. He's not processing what's going on, and all the dark things in his mind come crashing back into him as they journey through Shadesmar. All the things he tells himself about how horrible he is, and he's having to battle this darkness. And I would say it's harder to fight off than a physical enemy. If some actual enemy came to attack him, he could fight them physically, punchy, like one of those punchy guys that Adolin teases him about. But when the enemy is your own mind, how do you fight that? It's so much harder. And for Kaladin at this point in the story, it's coming out as anger. He's acting angry, and Shallan may tease him about it, but it's how he's having to deal with it right now. So besides the physical journey through Shadesmar, Kaladin is on his own personal journey. He has to overcome all the negative things inside and get to a point where he can focus on who he can protect. And the person he decides that he is going to protect is Dalinar. He has to get back to save Dalinar. He may have failed everything else. He will not fail the man who has had faith in him and given him a new chance at life. And leading up to the end of the book, before they fully pass through Shadesmar into the physical realm, Kaladin comes to this turning point. He has to get through. He has to protect Dalinar. And things come to a head when he tries to say his fourth ideal, and he can't. And we as the readers don't even get to know what the fourth ideal was that he can't say. We can't even be like, yes, you can, Kaladin, come on, because we don't know what it is. He thinks he knows what it is, and he tells Syl that he can't do it. And part of this is because he's confronted with his own failures. He's failed so many times, and he feels like if he forces himself into this fourth ideal, he'll just fail again. He'd rather not say the words than fail at them. And our strong and heroic Kaladin feels so weak right now. I don't think he is, and I don't think you think he is, but he thinks he is. And during Oathbringer, we felt like his character arc was leading up towards the fourth ideal. Everyone wants him to. We want to see him succeed so badly. And he fails at that. And he has to immediately confront it because he gets back to the physical realm and there's already a job to do. All right, Dalinar, what do you need me to do? And Dalinar's like, hey, you know that guy Amaram that caused you so much trouble? How about you go take care of him? And there's an interesting little interplay here that I think goes so well with Kaladin's story thus far. Syl has been trying to convince him that he doesn't have to save everybody. Maybe it's time somebody saves Kaladin. And we think that Kaladin is going to get to take down Amaram. That would be justice, right? Amaram's kind of ruined his life, and he's been working hard to ruin some other people's lives too. Amaram is the enemy, Kaladin is the hero takes down the enemy, right? Well, I think it's kind of poetic that Kaladin's not the one that actually kills him. One of the men that Kaladin worked so hard to save and get on his side steps in and saves him. Rock, the one who doesn't want to fight, will pick up that bow and fire it to save his friend. And that is one of those big payoffs that has taken books to happen. We see Kaladin so invested in people and in their lives, and especially into the lives of the men of Bridge 4. And one of those Bridge 4 members is the one who comes along and saves him at the end. And at this point in the book, the battle is over. The good guys have kind of temporarily won. There's going to be a lot more fighting after this. But for now, Kaladin can stop fighting for a little while. He can rest, he can try to recover. And a couple of little tidbits at the end that I think are just great for Kaladin. One, speaking of his friendship with Shallan, I love that his wedding present to her was boots. Wonderful. Good job, Kaladin. And Kaladin gets to come meet the men who were able to save little baby Gavinor, Elokar's son. So while he may have failed Elokar, he hasn't failed completely, and the child is saved. This is the end of this character study. I have already read Rhythm of War, and I really want to talk about Kaladin in the next book. You'll have to subscribe to see that one, plus other character studies from other fantasy books. Subscribe to this channel. My socials are in the description, and I'll see you next time. Bye!